Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin and, of course, DK in the background. And we are excited to celebrate this win and review all that is the Baltimore Ravens victory 23-20 over the Cleveland Browns. Woo! What a ball game, Glenn. What a ball game.
Oh, yeah. It was another game where the Ravens find themselves with a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. And, man, it almost started to look like those other games that didn't end so well after the Justice Hill fumble and, the Browns driving to tie or go in the lead. It was quite scary, but luckily the Ravens defense was able to make enough plays to get off the field. And, yeah, shout out to the team. Hey, a win is a win. You can't lose on the day that on the 10-year anniversary team celebration at halftime, and you got all the legends back from that team. I think 50 of the 53 members returned for that team. You can't lose on that day, Jimbo.
No, but for real, I got to ask you this. And DK, give us some sort of confirmation here. When Justice fumbled the ball, did you not get up and say, it's going to happen again? This game's over.
Oh, I absolutely thought it was going to happen again. And the funny thing about that run, as he was fumbling, I was saying, damn, that's a nice run from Justice. As he left a couple people in the backfield and kind of reversed field. And I thought he was making something out of nothing, but you got to protect the ball. I mean, that's first and foremost. And while ultimately he doesn't end up being the bad guy, I don't think John's going to forget that later on down the line here when there's a clutch situation. This could be something that's in the back of John's mind. So, but, man, I thought he looked good other than that. That's the shame of it all.
I know, but I know we're going to get into everything. We're going to get into stats and things. Let's see what Sean Pisker's got to say. All right, Sean here. I'm going to give DK his space.
Let's see.
All right, boys, stoked for the win. But this team, as much as I love them, clearly needs work. All they needed was a touchdown, and the game's over. I mean, I guess you probably have the stats in front of you. I can think of, what were there, 3 drives where we settled for field goals when we were in the red zone?
Yeah, well, that's...
I can think of, I think 2 at least, but I believe there were 3, if I'm not mistaken.
In the whole game. 2 in the first half, 1 in the second.
Where we're in the red zone, right? Like, we're deep in their territory, or we're at least within the 30.
Well, in the second half, actually, no. This was, he kicked a 55-yarder in the second half on that.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's a good point.
So that was, that was a bomb.
Like I guess we can kind of get to that. Obviously, we'll get to all things, but we'll weave in.
Well, I mean, I think what Sean's talking about is at the end of the game there, they go 12 plays, 55 yards, and then the Justice Hill fumble, and then following that they go 3 plays and they punt. But that was really more of a clock eating scenario. They don't get any yards. They eat up a minute 43, and the game's pretty much over from there. But definitely need. They need some work. There's no doubt about it, but there's also so much to be happy about when you look at the team.
Yeah, 100%. A lot to work on here. Obviously, a win's a win, but that is one thing that obviously, we noticed in the first half, and we can go through some stats and kind of talk about that. To springboard off of Sean's comment that I was getting nervous, we were leaving points in the board there in the first half. I was like, of course, the classic saying, you're not going to win with 3. It's basic math. 3 versus 7, right? You're always going to lose. And so I was a little nervous about that at the beginning because, Greg puts together these long methodical drives, but at the end of the day, you end up with 6 and they turn around and quick when it gets 7. That is deflating.
Absolutely. And Marco G says he hopes Hill isn't benched because without JK, we need him. And I 100% agree. I said, in the second half, I said, I don't want to see anyone but JK. But Justice Hill or Gus Edwards carrying the ball. I'd seen enough of Kenyon Drake. It's funny. He has his breakout, career game for a Raven last week. And this week he goes 11 carries, 5 yards, averages less than a half a yard per carry. So, man, he went from, the top of the mountain to the bottom of the foothills there.
Yeah.
I want to see more of Justice Hill, but, he's got to understand ball protection. The reason the Ravens were in the game and the reason why they had a lead was even with Lamar Jackson struggling throwing the ball and not really being on their A game from a passing standpoint, they didn't turn the ball over to that point, and that's why they had that lead. And that one turnover narrowly or almost cost them the football game.
I mean, absolutely. And that was my key to the game, is that you got to take care of the football, right?
Yep.
Obviously that was I believe the pivotal reason to losing to the Giants, and you got to remedy that, because that's a lot of that is within your control. Mm-hmm. And so that was a tough one, but I just got to say it, man. The world is right again. It is back on its correct axis. Gus Edwards is officially the Ravens' most valuable running back. I want to hear no JK talk. I want to hear no Justice Hill talk. I don't hear any of it. Gus Edwards is the guy in Baltimore. I think he made that clear today. First game back. You got some stats for me, Glenn. I'm pretty sure that his average was substantial, and probably above his career average. I felt like he did well for himself today. He outrushed, if I'm not mistaken, even Nick Chubb.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's above his career average, but for his first game back in such a long absence, he goes 16 carries, 66 yards, averages 4.1 per carry.
All right, so under his career average, which is like 5.5 or something stupid like that.
But averaging over 4 a carry in your first game back with 2 tutties is nothing to sneeze at. And then you add Lamar Jackson goes 10 for 59, 5.9 per carry. And even Justice Hill, other than the fumble, he goes 5 for 26, 5.2 yards per carry. And to your point, Nick Chubb did outrush. He did outrush Gus Edwards. He had 16 carries, so the same amount of carries, but he had 25 more yards. So he didn't in the first half. What's that?
He didn't in the first half, certainly, but like you said, they stuck to the run, and he did.
Nick Chubb in his first drive, they went right down the field on the back of Nick Chubb and scored a touchdown. So, but you got to be happy. I mean, Gus Edwards being back, it's like they got their thunder and lightning back. I mean, they had their lightning this whole time, but they didn't have their thunder without Gus Edwards. He's back, and man, it's just, you forget how big he is. But when he comes out in that first play and he's in the huddle, you see him standing next to Lamar and the lineman. You go, he's right there with, he's right up there with all those guys. It's just amazing. And it was nice seeing him.
Let me ask you this. Do you have our third down efficiency in front of you as well?
Yep, I can pull that up right here. I certainly do. Let's see. Third downs. Efficiency, they went 7 for 15. So, better than our season average thus far.
I think that a lot of that, not all of it, a lot of it can be credited to, it's easy when you can give the guy who's averaging 4.1 a carry the ball on first and second down. There was a multitude of third and shorts, more than we're accustomed to seeing this season, where you have so much more in front of you on third down. And of course, I'm obviously going to give all the flowers to my guy. Like, Gus Edwards is just so good at setting us up for success. He's always falling forward. There were so many plays where he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, ends up getting 4.
Yeah.
How does this, I mean, obviously Nick Chubb does that as well, but man, you think, how does this happen? I mean,
you're talking about,
shout out to Gus, man.
Yeah, you're comparing them to probably the best. I mean, him and Barkley, the best 2 backs in football.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I'm taking Chubb if it's up to me, but.
Yeah, it's just the runner. I think, I agree with you. Maybe if you incorporate the passing, you lean towards Barkley. But Gus, I mean, it's fun watching him run and knowing. And you know what also I saw back today? We ran it on 3rd and 3.
Right.
To exactly. Gus, this is flashbacks of back what we used to do, back in 2019. So what the Flock
and then
says,
the 4th and 1. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, win is great, but offense looks lost when second half blitz happens and the refs, 2 scores by Browns are refs driven. We got to clean up the drives. Yeah, I mean, there was some more bad penalties. Let's
talk about this for a second really quickly. I have a question for you, because I was trying to dissect this and I want to get your what was happening in your estimation where I felt like the line didn't play great today in passing scenarios, and Lamar, I think, only ended with 16 attempts or something like that. But he was constantly pressuring on the edge. Now, part of that, personnel, you have Clowney, you have Garrett, right?
Yeah.
Like, those are tough. That's a tough matchup, right? But what did you see different that I felt like they identified in the Ravens? And I don't think the Ravens adequately got over that, right? Like, if we weren't running the football successfully, our pass game, was not there today. And I think it'll have that to do with the edge pressure. But was there something different you saw the Browns doing that other teams haven't done yet?
I mean, it's hard to know when you can't see the secondary at all with the broadcast view. But I will say, I didn't think the line played as bad as as it looked in the beginning. I thought Lamar held onto the ball all for a long time, and I thought some of that was just coverage sacks, at least what it looked like, unless Lamar was
Yeah,
just
well,
missing guys.
you're only rushing 4 guys, and you drop
Yeah.
7 back.
Yeah, well, it helps when you have probably the best pass rushing tandem when healthy in the league. So you got to give him a little credit. I will say that one sack that Garrett had, I mean, he took Morgan Moses and threw him to the ground like a child and then tackled Lamar Jackson. I mean, it was just incredible. But to go up against that team, and I thought at least one of those sacks was on Lamar holding the ball too long, and it could just be coverage based. We just don't know. But to have only 3 sacks, I think is actually a win for this team. When you consider, the fact that they have probably the best pass rusher in the league on one side and one of the most talented on the other side in Clowney. So I got to give him a little credit there. JL said, did Lamar struggle throwing the ball? 16 attempts.
16 attempts.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he goes 9 for 16. He missed some throws. I thought he also had some nice throws. That throw to Duvernay on the right sideline was dropped in a bucket between the corner and the safety. So he had some moments, but overall, the passing game is struggling, but also not just him. Bateman, another ball. I mean, he had 5 targets. He caught 4 of them, but one zips right through his hands, and that's the reason Tucker needed to kick a 55-yarder versus probably a 47 or 48-yarder if he catches it.
No, I mean, I could say a million things, but I'm just going to hope that Bateman continues to improve as a pass catcher.
He looked good under that one.
He did.
That one.
You're 100%. Bateman looked good, and he started making me feel like I was eating crow. However, I'm getting in my own head here. I like Rashad Bateman.
Sean was for perfect timing on that.
Yeah,
comment,
also starting to get worried about Bateman slightly, dude, starting to get the drops. I like Rashad Bateman. It's on record. I've told you guys, I like Rashad Bateman. I just want Duvernay to get the ball more. It's just that simple. The dude had 2 big plays that come to my mind today on offense, aside from the great punt return that he had.
But he did have a great punt return too, right?
He absolutely had a great punt return. Yeah, but you shouldn't get penalized.
Want to lose that.
You shouldn't get penalized somehow and end up with less offensive opportunities because you're good at special teams.
I don't think that's the reason.
So I guess then
I think Bateman right now is a better route runner and gets more separation, and that helps him. That's just the bottom line.
Well, you can get all the separation you want if you can't catch the dang ball. What's
I know all
Did you see the catch that Duvernay made?
All these triggers anytime I need them.
Did you see the catch? You just talked about and Lamar dropped it.
That was a nice catch, but it was more the throw in that play than the catch, in my opinion.
The catch, though.
You do. And he did.
And then on top of that, the quick pass that he turned into, I think it was either like a 9 or a 12-yard gain.
Yep.
I mean, I'm saying is route running or not, get the dude the ball. I don't care how.
I want to see, even with Gus coming back, I don't want to see us abandon Devin Duvernay out of the backfield. I want to see more Devin Duvernay in that Deebo Samuel role. Let's continue to do it. Why not?
Yeah, so we won't belabor the point anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have to.
Gus Edwards is that dude. Thank you. 100%. I mean, anything else to be said there? The dude is just a really good football player.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Jimbo. We talked about a lot of times people say when criticizing Lamar Jackson that his focus is sometimes too centric around his favorite target and Mark Andrews. Today we see Mark Andrews come up with donuts across the board outside of the 2 targets he couldn't haul in. Is this a response to the criticism, or is this simply game script and strategy from the Browns took Andrews out of the game?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think there's 3 things here that happened. Obviously, the return of the run game in a different way, like a non-Lamar generated run game was a difference in the passing game, right? Because then Lamar at the end of the day only had 16 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to do with the fact that we were having success running the football. So that's number 1. Number 2, of course they're going to game script against the most targeted tight end in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't think it really has anything to do with a response to the trolls out there who say Lamar spends too much time, trying to target. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's like this, right? If Lamar Jackson, keep targeting Mark Andrews if it's working. It's really that simple, right? Like,
it works. Do it.
Yeah, why?
But he averages 9.5 a game. He got 2 today, same as Pat Ricard, who Shuma Malik does not like. He says he loves Pat, but the play designs for him are dumb and overused. I will say
the screen
he probably had the most
though?
successful screen pass in Ravens history.
In Greg Roman history.
No doubt. And then James Prochet decides to finally make a play. Of course, it's a negative one as he picks up a bonehead
what a
personal
dummy.
foul after the play, taking away 15 of the yards that Patches got. Silly. I get it that the other guy was just as much involved, but you got to keep your composure. It's not going to help gain you playing time. You see Deshaun Jackson is standing on the sidelines. You hear the reports he's hitting 21 miles per hour in practice. He's ready to take your position. You don't play special teams. You finally get some time, and you pick up a silly penalty.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because he's getting a lot of credit in John's book for the good blocking, right? Because we've had tight ends here for years because they're good blockers, right? And he did well in that play. And then, like you said, he ended it poorly. Yeah, he just
took it way too far. And we only had 3 penalties today, but one was a monster PI. One was that silly penalty there. So you can't have the big penalties. What the Flock says, the wife slept most of the second half. I woke her up with a frog splash when Edwards scored late. But, man, Lamar looks lost when he needs to tuck it and run. So man, that's hilarious.
We've talked about this because since the Bengals game, right, like Lamar Jackson seems less willing to simply, like you said, tuck it, put the foot down, and start heading north. Right? Yeah. Like he's one, and I get it. He's wanting to buy time. He's wanting to, buy some time to make a play for his guys down the field. But I think it's got to be, it's so hard because it's not a binary thing, right? Like it's not like, oh, if this, then this, if this, then that. It's really not. It's such an art and a science, right? So, but what's your take on that? Like, because I find myself getting a little frustrated with the backpedaling and the back foot throwing, and obviously the sacks and things like that. When there was another play where, he did a little bit of that, then he finally put his foot forward and it looked like he was going to lose 7 yards. He probably ran 50 yards total on that play, ended up, I think, getting a first down deep in the Browns territory. But what are your thoughts overall on his point about Lamar seeming indecisive?
Yeah, to me, it looks like he's just trying to make big plays and trying to buy his receivers some additional time, to get open. But I tend to agree with, some of the fan sentiments that I wish he would just turn up field and become his own check down or find the check down if it's there. And let's take what the defense gives you. Sometimes that home run's not going to be there. And I'd rather see you go get 5, 6 yards or even 3 yards than risk taking a sack. I thought he took a couple bets. At least there was 1 or 2, I think, in the first half that I thought were, just him holding the ball a little too long. You got to make a move and take what the defense is willing to give you. If they give you underneath stuff, start taking it. Maybe the top stuff starts opening up.
And to add to that, if you don't, I don't think it's about taking the hits, but also I do think there's a calculation in Lamar's head, rightly so, about, okay, if I gain 3 yards and then I have 320-pound guys land on top of me for a gain of 3 yards, maybe this is a play where I need to throw it away, right? But like, throw it away. You know what I mean? Just live to play another down.
100%.
So that certainly, let's see. And when can we put Big Fale at left guard? Because Powers is getting bullied. You want your best 5, right? And on D, more of PQ blitzing.
Oh, yes.
Starting to unlock. I'm glad we're going to talk about the Patrick Queen as well. What do you think about? So this is interesting because it's clear that that McCary is the swing tackle, which we kind of talked about maybe bumping him inside to left guard.
Yeah,
was the option. I haven't really thought about Falele at left guard because he's only played tackle ever. He's a relatively inexperienced football player. So my concern would be pulling. He's also huge. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull very well, how mobile he is laterally. I'm not saying that he's not, but I don't know if that would be his strong suit.
Yeah, I don't want to see Falele at guard. I considered McCary, but I love the fact that he's in this kind of this hybrid role now where he's playing each game, even though he's still kind of the swing tackle. We saw him at right. We saw him at left. I think it's cool how they're using him. Let's keep using him there and leave him available in case there's an injury. I think Powers is what he is. I got to give Powers a little credit. I think he's a little bit better than a lot of people are giving him credit for this year. Certainly we were hard on him, but he's reliable. He's tough. He's smart. He's got some limitations physically, but I'll take my chances. Let's keep Powers where he's at and let's let him keep hopefully to get, getting better. But Jimbo, we got to talk Pat Queen.
Yeah, we have to. You about to give him some dap? You about to give him some love right here, dude?
Pat Queen had himself a day, man. He had himself a day. Brad talked about in our group chat as we were, texting back and forth. He took over a defensive drive. He had back-to-back huge tackles for loss, was making the
Huge
crowd
plays,
explode
man.
with his plays. He had 3 tackles for loss. He had a sack. He had 11 tackles total for the game, led the team. This was his coming out party for sure this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that this is just a sign of more to come, because we saw, Bynes need help getting off the field. And I think that Josh Ross, we're hearing reports he's working out on side field. He's on his way back. And I want to see Josh Ross, PQ, take over the middle of this defense. And let's see what happens, because, man, I was so hyped to watch PQ playing the way he was, having the confidence he was having in a day where we have Ray Lewis in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Man, just continuing that middle linebacker tradition. Let's hope that this is the start of something great for him this season.
Now, but this is the thing I still think is important for him and the Ravens to understand, is that I think that Patrick Queen seems to be the type of guy that relies best on his instincts. There are some players that are instinctual players. There are other players that are the type of guys that can diagnose a play very quickly. And there are, of course, Hall of Famers like Ray Lewis who are simply elite at both.
Yeah.
But I think Patrick Queen, and it's not a knock. It's not saying he's not smart or anything, because instincts are a part of intelligence. I think that's fair to say. When he's headed forward, when he's in, who was it that just put up that comment? Was that What the Flock?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think the key for Patrick is to be in a position where he's headed toward, he's not standing there.
Not doing a lot of thinking.
Exactly. He's not standing there trying to figure out what his next step is. Start moving, right? And the next step will be revealed unto you. You know what I mean? Get headed forward. Don't stand there and putter your feet around, right? He seems to be the guy that when he's headed north and south, he seems to be doing well. But when he's asked to do a little bit of diagnosis, he seems to sputter out a little bit. So I think that's going to help in unlocking him.
Play fast.
Forward.
Fast. And I tell you, he wasn't the only guy on defense playing well. I want to get into some of these other pass rushers and the excitement surrounding
the old dogs, dude.
Yeah, Yoda's back. JL says Greg Roman is a joke. One receiver on the field during pass plays, no spreading out. Lamar Jackson is handcuffed by this offense. What are we saying?
Well, they're one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. And we were rushing. What can you give us our team rushing stats, Glenn?
Yeah, for the let's see, for the team, they go 44 carries, 160 yards, 3.6 per carry. So clearly Kenyon Drake dragging the average down. Everyone else on the team had a 4.0 average, and then Kenyon Drake comes in with 0.5 and drags the rest of the team average way down. But no, outside of Kenyon Drake, the run attack was extremely successful.
Because we're talking about something totally different here when it comes to the run attack if Hill holds on to the ball. Because I think we run. We, that I think after he picks up that first, you see Gus back in the game, and then he just wears him down. We end up, we win in a different manner. So I think that the whole outlook of the game is different. So I'm not saying that we don't need to improve in the passing game. 16 attempts seems a little bit odd, but
they got to get better. The efefficicy was trash too. 9 of 16.
I also think it's an outlier, right? Why not attack them in their weakness, which is relatively speaking, one of our strengths offensively. So
but they got to get better. To JL's point, they got to get better. But as far as the formations and all, I don't have a problem with it, because last week, too often he abandoned the run in critical situations when the run game was averaging 8 yards plus per carry last week. So I'm happy that they got back to a more run-first offense. They threw the ball more last week than they did run the ball, despite averaging nearly 9 yards a carry. It's a complete 180 from last week. I'm okay because it won, but the offense passing game does have to improve in their efficiency at the very least.
And the biggest thing is it can't be feast and famine for the running attack and the passing attack. It can't be feast and famine every week, right? Yeah. It needs to be harmonious. JT O'Sullivan, we had on the show like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. I think it was a year ago. And he talked about the offense not being, the word he doesn't like to use is complimentary. He likes to use harmonious, right? Because it could be 10 run plays in a row and then one passing drive, or vice versa, but they need to be feeding off one another, excuse me. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I don't have a ton of complaints about the play call today as much as I do, like you said, the execution, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, here Sean says, By the way, I know you guys aren't doing it today, but I'm feeling good about the over-unders. I know I got 3 right. And yes, this was by far one of Queen's best games,
I guess.
100%.
I mean, we could try and squeeze it in
I think we could at least get to
DK,
the
how do you
show.
feel?
I don't know if DK could get through all the fan submissions. We
Okay,
may have to give him a little time with that, but we might have to get through the show portion.
He's back there.
Yeah, he's
keyboarding
hammering away.
Up, Sean.
Absolutely, he's hammering away. But I want to get into some more of these defensive players that I think had a big game. We saw an absolute explosion from the pass rush, getting 5 sacks on the day.
And can we just shout out the old dudes, Glenn? Just all of them.
Dude, all of them. Calais Campbell,
guys,
he gets the strip sack. Justin Houston was everywhere.
Yeah.
This guy's clearly, first of all, Justin Houston, clearly our best pass rusher. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think him and JPP both, right? Obviously, Justin Houston, yes. But even JPP had a disruptive play today and has had a number of them since he's come on board. But yes, to answer your question,
he should have had probably 3. He ends up with 2. Man, it's good to have him back, and the cavalry is still coming, Jimbo, which has just got me super hyped. But yeah, Calais Campbell gets his hand on the strip sack. Kyle Hamilton gets in on the action with the sack. I think this was one of his best, if not his best game as a pro. So we got to give a shout out to Kyle. I want to see what his snap count looks like to see if he's starting to trend back in the right direction. Didn't see a lot of Pepe today, but let's see if
he was peppered in.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. Didn't see much from Justin Metabike.
Yeah.
But I thought as a whole the front 7 played pretty well outside of 2 drives. Really.
Did you see Broderick Washington got folded, right?
By
can you believe they called that Jacoby Brissett
the spin move?
A spin. That was a spin move? Really?
That was surviving.
Yeah.
Is what that was.
And how much props can you give a guy for outrunning a de facto nose tackle?
A 330-pound nose tackle.
Yeah, come on, dude. Really?
Yeah. But I mean,
and he even converted into Lamar. He said, Lamar Jackson. Wait a second here.
There's a big difference between the Lamar Jackson spin move and what that was from Jacoby Brissett.
Straws, ladies and gentlemen.
But I will say this, Jimbo. That second half touchdown drive they gave up. So after the Ravens score 3 and get the lead back to 10, 23-13, the Browns get the ball back. I don't know what happened on this drive, Jimbo, but the Browns go 7 plays, 75 yards. It takes 2 minutes and 24 seconds to do so. And they score a touchdown. It was the ugliest drive of the day by far. It just seemed like they were uninterested. The defense didn't want to be there. It was the strangest. I couldn't understand it when you look at how well they were playing up to that point in the second half. And just to see, that was a head scratcher, but I'm glad to see they bounced back. I wrote that down. They bounced back in a big way to end that game because, man, I was like, what the hell was that?
Right. Overcoming the psychological, emotional, mental wounds, if you will, of those previous games was important. And probably, I know the offense struggled in some ways. I know Lamar didn't look great. Look, at the end of the day, if you want to take this game from a macro perspective and not in a vacuum, for this team moving forward, I think you hit it on the head. We won the game, which is job number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, that the way that the defense was able to overcome a not again type moment. Now, they were helped by the special teams unit on the O-line for the Browns.
Yeah, big time.
All that being said, they were able to seal the victory. It is a huge moment for this defense moving forward in this season. I mean, that's probably the most crucial part of all the plays. That was probably the most crucial part of what happened in that game for the outlook of this defense moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because I know we were all sitting there. Here we go again.
Yeah, I thought it was. Thank God it was Jacoby Brissett at quarterback and not, possibly, the guy who's going to be leading them down the stretch. Because
I don't even want to say that fool's name.
It may have been it may have been a different outcome the other way around. But yeah, got to give credit to that defense.
Ooh,
what's up? Why are you oohing?
Nothing. I just saw the private chat that DK sent over.
Oh, I didn't see it here. Sugar, y'all in trouble now. Okay. Sorry. It's an inside thing here a little bit. But you guys will be seeing why my reaction.
Sure, of course,
is that way very, very shortly. You're going to see my excitement level go up. What'd you think of when you look at the passing attack and you look at the targets here? Were you thinking Isaiah Likely would be a little more involved? Well, he gets one.
Well, I
one
picked him as
attempt.
my and it was a nice grab. I picked him as my offensive
Yeah, I
player.
wanted to ask you about him. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Of course you did. Way to set me up. I appreciate that. Set me up for success. You see what my co-host does to me over here, guys?
Hey, he only had one opportunity. He took the hell advantage of it.
I throw him these softballs so he can just and Glenn's throwing me heaters over here, striking me out, dude. Striking out the knuckleballs.
You're like the Yankees right now.
Jeez, a whiz. So yeah, I mean, I was a little bummed that he just simply didn't get more opportunities. I thought the one play that he got, he did well.
Yeah.
Nice little play. Showed a little bit of athleticism. Obviously caught the ball and turned it up a little bit. But yeah, I just want to see him get a couple more shots. But I think this game, schematically speaking, it is based on how many times we ran. And once again, I'd like to see snap count, how many plays he was on the field for a successful rushing attack, because that's also important for him to get on the field more. He needs to avoid holding penalties. He needs to become a more suitable, or what's the word I'm looking for? Adequate. He needs to be an adequate blocker at the very least, right?
Like, at least get in the way.
Yeah, exactly. Just
you don't have to move bodies, but shield with your body.
Yeah, exactly. So all that said, I wish he would have got more opportunities.
Yeah, Ian Wick says, LJ not the same since weeks 1 through 3. What do you think is going on? Yeah, I don't know.
What was DK or Glenn, do you know as well? Wasn't there some sort of an injury there was whisperings of an injury?
Well, he had a hip that he was missed, or he was limited in practice. He had a hip injury, but
I don't know.
I didn't think it was. It didn't look like his running ability was hindered. He has 10 carries, 59 yards.
Well, and there's been whisperings of an elbow too, right?
But we haven't seen that sleeve in weeks, so I can't even chalk it up to that. I don't know why the passing game's not going, but 9 of 16 for 120 yards is not where you want to be. But look, this isn't all Lamar Jackson. This is a passing offense that has
dial him up some easy ones.
Yeah,
for him and the offensive line. Let's get it out quick.
Yeah, get some confidence.
Right, and that's why Duvernay makes a lot of sense to me. Just throw him the football and let him do the rest.
It's hard to argue with
that.
Can you read? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you're using your phone.
I'm using my computer, but when it's a lot of words, it's just kind of small. Mike McDonald can figure our defenses, and we're just about there. Can figure out our defenses, and we're just about there. So is he saying if? Okay. Just need to finish. Help coming soon. Hamilton needs to be more box monster there. So Glenn, you kind of touched on this, and I'm glad you did. This is the first game where it was a noticeable difference in the confidence of Kyle Hamilton. I felt like you could see it in his body language, in his way that he was up on the line, in the way that he was just moving around, the way that they panned over to the sideline a couple times. He wasn't doing this. You know what I mean? It was none of that, right? Like he was very engaged, seemed much more confident. What was your take on his game today?
Yeah, to me, it looks like he's just more comfortable being down near the line of scrimmage, being more in the box. It seems like they limited some of his responsibilities and allowing him to play faster and think less, like we talked about with Pat Queen. Right now, that seems to be working. The question is, will they keep him in that role? I keep saying it, but when Bowser comes back, what does his role look like? Because I think a lot of what he does is what makes Bowser great, and they paid Bowser an awful, good chunk of change to play that role. And so, let's just see how it continues to grow. I think it's good. Keep him in that role now. Let him continue to build confidence, build experience, gain reps, and then let his role continue to grow and expand. Because if you're the number one pick for a team, you're picked in the teens. Your expectation is that you're going to play and contribute in a big way year one. So, but this is a good sign. It's a good step in the right direction. And we always thought that he could be used as a talented blitzer. He gets the sack today. So, that looked nice.
Which that play was also an interesting play design, because I don't know how many times you end up seeing two safeties in the backfield.
Yeah, fighting over a sack.
You know what I mean? That's not a very, it's aggressive in its nature to send one.
No doubt.
You end up with two back there. That was pretty fun to watch.
Now, fortunately, they had three on the field, but but still,
nonetheless, I mean, it's still kind of a goofy thing and not something you see very often. So that was a lot of fun. Let's see. Todd Heap says, "What do you think about the penalty against Cleveland that pushed their field goal to 60 yards and the referee consultant's quote unquote explanation of the call?" I initially thought, Glenn, that it was the center that caused
bouncing the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, but it ended up being, didn't they call it on 68, who was offset to the right?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know who got that call. I thought the center did bounce the ball. He moved the
Yeah.
ball, but we don't see that zoomed in, so we don't know if that's commonplace or if that's normal for the center to maybe move the ball a little bit, readjust his hand. I don't know if that's normal. I'm sure too much movement is a penalty, but yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm glad it happened. I don't know
Definitely
if
could
he
have
would have
changed
made
the
it
whole outlook
anyway.
of the game, though.
Yeah, but let's be honest, it wasn't a gimme. 55 yards outdoors in Baltimore is a tough kick for anybody, especially someone who isn't there and hasn't kicked there a hell of a lot. Like for Justin Tucker, he's kicked there how many times in his career? How many times has this guy been there?
Right.
I can't imagine it's been
And there's
there
a
very often.
crosswind, just even on windy days, the stadium just produces a crosswind. So yeah,
No doubt. And the pressure and the moment. So there was a ton working against him. But that 5 yards I was surprised they still kicked it. I was half expecting that
yeah,
they would turn around and punt in that situation, hope the defense can hold.
right. Yeah, I kind of thought that as well.
Yeah, but our guy, of course, Justin Tucker, 3 for 3, 55-yard field goal is the long on the day. And man, his celebration afterwards, he's so swagged out, man. I mean, this guy, I love how confident he is, man. And yeah, he's the GOAT, right?
Absolutely. Nothing else to be said there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, got to be happy with the win. Looks like the Bungles they beat the absolute brakes off the Falcons. Last I checked, it was hammer time there. Let me see what the final ended up there. They end up beating Atlanta 35-17.
It's funny
Of
though, the
course,
Bengals are a bunch of front runners, right?
why you say that?
You beat up on bad teams, you're punching down. Whoop-de-doo-dah-day, dude. Like,
Well, look, Atlanta did beat the Niners last week, and the Niners are considered to be a Super Bowl contender, certainly after the acquisition of CMC. And they're beating the Chiefs right now after they picked off Patty Mahomes.
yeah,
They're up 10-0.
all I'm saying is that no one is expecting anything from the Atlanta Falcons. I don't care what you say.
They're not, but they've surprised some teams this year. They can
so
play a little
does
bit.
the Bengals win mean anything to you though?
No, I think that I'm going to bank on the fact that what the Ravens did in Baltimore is more meaningful than what they're
100%.
doing in Atlanta.
100%. So really quickly though, B More Tony says Dude should be featured more. He makes plays every time. He is even on the fake run. Oh, he is even on the fake runs. He draws so much attention. Yeah, that
100%.
run where Lamar converted for a first down.
Yep.
That was a third down. That was a critical play.
Yep.
And you kind of, it's funny because I in my head know there's no way Lamar's giving this up. And still Garrett ended up spun around.
Yep.
Because you have to respect Duvernay, right?
Got to.
Yeah,
And I tell you what, I got to ask you. What did you think of the Mark Andrews pitch to Lamar?
I loved it. I love
this little Mark Andrews package. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get a sneak by Andrews. Now you could pitch it to Lamar with a lead blocker in front. I mean, it's an exciting little package.
100%, dude.
My Bears out there?
Yeah, my wife's knocking on the window with our son, I think.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, well, there are no Bears, but we did see some deer this morning.
And James Lee Wiley is 100% right. He says Tampa loses to the Panthers. Maybe we can win 2 in a row. I thought this Thursday game coming up with Tampa would be, a real tough one for the Ravens. But how in the hell does Carolina, Carolina has an interim coach. They just traded their best player. They have their third string quarterback, and their first is the worst in the league. Their second string is the worst backup in the league. And their third string is in there, and they somehow win 21-3 over the GOAT. I don't know what the hell is going on in Tampa, but yeah, I'm happy because this looks like a team in shambles right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Billy Goat's beard, I think, has gotten a little too long.
I mean, I think he might be regretting coming back this year.
They're a terrible team. He's obviously going through some issues. It's just one of them. I mean, can't let go. I don't know what else to say, man. The fear of not obtaining is much less than the fear of losing what you've obtained.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, he's holding on maybe a little too long.
But damn, 21-3.
It's also not exciting to end up having to play against a team that is going to be led by a furious while football geriatric Tom Brady. It's not an exciting predicament. You know what I mean? I wish that maybe things were a little differently. Yet sure, they won, but like won ugly today. So like psychologically, maybe they were a little more relaxed. But they're going to be fighting for their lives. That's basically what it is at this point.
That's true. They are going to be a desperate team. Doobie Mars says Browns D is underrated, not flashy but good. Yeah, they got a ton of names on their team. Their pass, like we called it, their pass rushing duo might be the best in the league. I mean, you got to look at Bosa and who's the guy from the?
Well, he's out now.
Well, he was no, I'm talking. Yeah, but at the start of the year, it was
Bosa
and Mac, and then Nick Bosa in But yeah, there's a lot of good pass rush, but they're one of them. They're one of the best pass rushing duos in the league, and they got a lot of players. Joe Woods catching a lot of criticism as a DC this year, but I think they got a pretty talented roster. All right, so let's get into
let's get into this one.
What's up, man? What's wrong? What's
All right,
up,
so
bro?
we're here to talk about the our in-show competition. Of course, you guys know our over/under competition. We're here to give results. DK is still working on the results for the collective viewers competition, and we'll give that to you guys on Tuesday. So stay tuned. Turn on your notifications as always, and of course, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But internally here in the show, we go through the same over-unders and do so with you guys. So DK has a really cool graphic here. Wait, I guess we should talk first about the results
this week,
and the winners, and then we'll talk about overall. So DK, you want to run through these banners, and we'll talk about what we got right and wrong.
All right.
So the first one, Kenyon Drake carries 8.5. Over under. I said under, right? No. I said over on this. Let me pull up my doc. Jeez whiz. I said over on this.
Yeah, there we go. You said over. I agreed. We both said over. He gets 11 carries. I tell you, I didn't think this was going to go this way when the thing first started because Gus Edwards was getting so much run in that opening drive, but ultimately Kenyon does get the carries, although he by far was the worst in the ball carrier room this Sunday, averaged just half a yard per carry. Not very good. But, we're both right on that one as well as DK. Intern Brad, he forfeits his competition this week because he didn't even enter his submissions.
He was out partying, not focused. Come on, Brad. You got to get it back together, bro. What's going on, man?
These young college kids, I tell you. But yeah, so we all get that one right. Next one is Ravens rushing yard total. DK said at 175.5. I said under. You both said over, and I was barely correct. They go for just 160. But man, that was a tough one. That one, I think I said when I called it under that they would get around. I think I said they'd get exactly 160. No, I made that.
Wait, what did I say here?
You said
I said over.
You said over. You said over. Yeah. You were wrong. I was right.
Yeah. Well, because I was a believer. I was believing. I bleed purple. What can I say?
I just thought our passing numbers would be so great that we wouldn't run as much. Defensively, our first over under is Browns rushing yards, 190.5. This was a big time under. They only get 113. We were all right. Clean sweep on that one. I thought that was, although that is around where they are, that was a high one for me. So I thought that one was a slam dunk. And then last over under, Travis Jones sacks over under 0.5. He ends up with none.
Yeah, DK, you got to set your game up, bro. That one was easy.
Easy. Okay. All right. All right. Well, he did have a sack the week before, so he was riding the hot hand there. All right. The next tiebreaker, or the first tiebreaker next over under is total score over under 45.5 points. I said we'd go just under 23 or 24-13 was my prediction. And once again, right on that. It wasn't
very close, though.
Well, you went well over.
What was my score?
51.
No, but what was my total?
That's what I said, 51.
A 3-point difference, right?
Huh?
3-point difference?
No, we scored 43 total.
No, a 3-point difference in the outcome of the game between winning and losing. 23-20? What was the difference that you had?
Here we go.
What was like
because you didn't have any faith in your team.
Oh, well, I'm just being realistic here.
I thought we would beat them down, dude.
I knew we were going to get the win.
Look, you can try and make this look good any way you want it. Point is, at the end of the day, all right, let's go to the final tiebreaker. Total yards for the Ravens, closest to the pin, was 254. Was the total. Jimbo was 415. He was way off. DK was the correct answer at 345. Man,
Everyone was way
low. Yeah, everybody was way off. But DK was the closest. All right, so the winner for the show this week.
In a handicap competition where one person
You better
doesn't even
change that
compete.
to Glenn wins again. Back to back. Putting a streak together. So I once again win. I know to the fans' delight.
Yeah.
Let's put up the yearly scoreboard. Thank you. Why with the question marks?
Yeah.
Exclamation points.
Yeah, well, Brad wasn't around. This is a rigged competition.
Oh, so what you're saying is you and DK weren't enough to defeat me. I understand you need the young whippersnapper to beat me, but let's pull up the yearly scorecard here, DK. So as you can see here from the total score, the accuracy,
loving the music.
Name it.
You're doing good,
I hate
Glenn.
to say I told you so.
You're doing good. I'll give it to you. Look, you're doing all right this year. You know, everybody's got their year. Dude.
Yeah, Jared. Yeah, Jared. Tell him. Yeah, buddy.
It's a long season.
It is a long season, but 78, damn near 80% accuracy that's something to be proud of.
That is something. If there's anything to be proud of in your entire life, it is that.
Well, there's other things to be proud of, but this is certainly right now top of mind.
For sure. Absolutely. 100%. Shout out to Glenn, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll hope that things don't continue in that direction. But look, you got to be humble in defeat, right? It just is what it is.
I am inevitable.
I don't know if you go down the Thanos route yet, but you got a 2-game win streak and now you're Thanos.
Oh, we're streaking, baby.
Oh gosh.
That's right.
Anyway, shout out. We'll have the results for our weekly competition for you guys, which is of course most important.
Yeah.
On Tuesday. So make sure you guys tune in. I think that's it for us though.
Yeah, that's it for us.
DK's got the finger up. Not the middle finger.
Here we go. Free Wi-Fi says Ajabo is the best player we drafted this year. He will show up and show out. Let me say this, Jimbo. What if Ajabo what if he recovers in a similar fashion in which we've seen Justice Hill recover?
I don't think that's fair. Justice Hill had longer out.
He did.
You know what I mean? Like a calendar year.
He did.
Right? I don't think that's fair.
Okay. So we have to temper our expectations. But what if he looks like the Ajabo they were expecting already?
No, that would be excellent. But I also think it's fair. It's unfair to say that he's better than Tyler Linderbaum. Tyler Linderbaum might be a Pro Bowler this year.
Yeah, I mean, how could you be anything but thrilled with Tyler?
That's what I'm saying. He might be a Pro Bowler. I think he's got an argument right now. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. So I like the enthusiasm, but I think it's unfair to overlook Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
got to give him the credit where it's due. Yeah, Jared. Yes, sir.
Wait, you already put this up, DK. Take it down.
Nah, I love it. Yeah, buddy.
Get out of here.
That's it for us tonight, though. Excited to see the Ravens win. Go watch the 4 o'clocks. Get ready for Sunday Night Football, and we'll talk soon.
See ya.